Welcome back to another episode of Just a Tip, where we talk about the shit that everyone's thinking but nobody's saying. In this episode, we sit down with Alex Ringleb, the restaurant journeyman that also created Burgermeister, and one of the few operators that's not afraid to call bullshit when he sees it. Alex didn't just pop up during COVID with a Canva logo and a dream. He came up through real hospitality in Europe, South America, New York, and Miami nightlife. The real grind. He planted his flag in Miami Beach and actually built something that feeds locals, not just influencers looking for a neon sign and a free meal. We get into all the ugly parts of doing business in the city. We talk all about the crazy Brickell rents, landlords acting like they're doing you a favor, tourist dependency, and how half the market is cannibalizing itself chasing the same damn customer. We get into why when you build a place that pushes locals out, that you can't be surprised when your seats are empty in August. This one is very raw operator talk. No fake hype, no Miami's unstoppable delusion, just what it actually takes to survive in a city that will chew you up and spit you out if you don't know what you're doing. This is Alex Ringleb, Just a Tip. This episode of Just a Tip is brought to you by Rooftop Solutions. So the craziest thing happened. You might have even seen it in the news. A restaurant in Wynwood had to shut down for years after a leaky roof caved in. Imagine all that money, time, momentum gone just because the roof wasn't handled right. And that's why I always recommend Rooftop Solutions. They've been protecting homes and businesses all over Miami-Dade and Broward for over 20 years. They're local, based in Hialeah, and they take pride doing the job with honesty and craftsmanship so your roof stands the test of time. And here's the deal. If you got a leak, they will patch it for free while prepping your roof to be replaced. So unless you want to add a lazy river in your dining room, call Rooftop Solutions, tell them Felix sent you.
Guys, I got a very special treat today. A lot of you guys have asked me, so I'm delivering. Today, I have a very special guest. Not only is he a fantastic restaurateur with one of the best burgers in all of Miami, but recently he's joined the social media scene and become one of our outspoken spokesmen. I love everything he does. This is a guy who's really seen the journey. He is living the American dream. Went from bussing tables to waiters to opening up restaurants, little cafe bodegas in Colombia, to working at some of the greatest night spots Miami's ever seen, Miami Beach. This guy is fantastic. I love him. I think he's fantastic. And I think you guys are going to enjoy him. I am blessed and honored to have my boy, Alex Ringleb. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Thank you.
It's good to see you, bro. So, I've been following you a lot recently because I'm like, fuck, this is the stuff that I talk about. This is the stuff. It's nice to see, also a restaurateur doing it, because a lot of restaurateurs, they play it safe. When you're sometimes a little too outspoken, you get criticized. So I think that everything you're doing is really just a breath of fresh air. And I love it. So I just want to get into it. So, you're not from Miami, obviously, right?
No.
So you were born in Germany, right?
Born and raised in Germany, yes.
So how did hospitality fall into your life?
What happened is I grew up in Germany and my mom is Austrian, so we always would go for the summertime to Austria. And one of my aunts had a little, it's a gastropub, Austrian style.
Yeah.
And my
so it was
grandfather,
like beers and appetizers.
beers,
and
schnitzel,
schnitzel.
knedel and all that stuff, So it was a typical the Austrian gastro bar, after
Love it.
church, the whole crowd would go there. So my grandfather worked there and he would wait tables just for fun. So I would see him and I would see how he welcomes the guests and stuff. So I always enjoyed that energy. Then my other aunt, she had a hotel in Vienna. So we would stay there and same thing. I would participate in the kitchen, cleaning the room. So I would be part of it. And so I started to get my passion for the restaurant industry, hospitality. And I started to do it's called, in Germany, you have to go 3 years to school to graduate in culinary school.
Right.
So you work 3 years, 3 days a week, and you go to school 2 days a week. So I did that. I started with hospitality.
How old were you at the time?
16.
Right.
16 and a half, 17, yeah. And so it was the old hardcore hospitality style. I worked at the restaurant, had 2 floors. I mean, they filled up the plates with hot water and walk up the stairs, walk down. And if you burnt yourself, tough luck, zero liability care. It was the old fashioned. And so I started to get more and more into it and understanding more about the importance of the detail in hospitality. But I didn't like Germany. It was too cold. I didn't see myself there, So I said, I'm going to learn this and I'm going to bring it to the world.
Right.
So I kept learning about it. And so then with 18 was the first time I left. I went to the DR.
Nice. Do a little Dominican Republic.
Yes.
Where'd you go? Like Punta Cana or?
No, Boca Chica.
Okay. All right.
Boca Chica. I ended up in Boca Chica.
Did you know Spanish at the time or no?
A little bit.
Right.
Very little. Just a tiny bit. So I ended up going there, and I had enough money to live for a while. So I checked it out, lived there. I had a great time, you know.
Right. How can you not, right?
I fell in love.
Right. Of course, obviously. Right.
The Caribbean, the sunshine. I'm
Right.
like, this is it. But I had to go back to Germany, and they called me for the army.
The draft, right?
The draft. So they called me, and so I had to show up there, and I said, I can't do this. You
Right.
know, it's just not me. I'm not a guy that runs around with machine guns.
Because 18, right? You just, or is it
Yeah,
16
yeah.
or 18? You have to
18,
like,
yeah.
right, enlist, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I said, no, I'm
Not for you.
going to do it. No,
Right.
I'm out here, you know? But what I didn't know is that you're going to have a arrest warrant from the military police, you know?
Right.
So I moved to Aruba. I had
Not
a
the
Colombian
worst.
wife. No.
Why did you choose Aruba?
Because my Colombian wife had a friend that
Right.
worked there.
Yep.
So she said, my friend is bartending there. Why don't we move there? And we can work in bars and restaurants, you know?
Don't you love your 20s? I mean,
Yes.
is that the, how old were you? Were you 20?
Yeah,
Like,
20, yeah.
right.
I
That's
said,
the best, right? The freedom to just do whatever the fuck you want,
Just
right?
you grab your shit
Right.
and you're done with it,
Right.
you know? My mom, everybody said, you're crazy.
Right.
You know, you're going to come back here and you're insane, you know? And I said, I'm done with this
Right.
weather, you know?
Right.
And so we went to Aruba, and then in Aruba, I tried to get this work permit, you know? And then the embassy said, hey, hold on, you know, there's a problem. You can't get a work permit here. But the ambassador's wife had the restaurant where I worked.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So she said, look, I'm not going to make this a big deal, but
Right.
get out of here,
Right.
you know? So I said, all right, got to leave.
Yep.
Packed our shit again.
Yep.
So we said, let's go first to Colombia.
Right.
So I moved to Cali.
Why Colombia?
Because
And nothing against Colombia. I love
My
Colombia.
Colombian
but-
wife. So
right.
we said,
Oh, that's right.
she said, let's go to my house first, to my mom. Let's hang out there and let's figure things out,
Right.
you know? Because I said, I'm not going back to Germany. I'm not doing this, you know? I'm not going back to the cold weather nor to the army.
Right.
So then, stayed there, opened up the first bodega
Nice.
in the
Cali.
garage. Yeah, because I was
Nice.
smoking cigarettes,
Right.
and I had to go so many blocks to buy cigarettes,
Right.
and I noticed there was a vacuum in
What
business.
did you name it?
It was La Bodeguita.
Got
La Bodeguita, and it was just a garage, you know? So I put Bodeguita. I didn't even know what it meant
Right.
back then, you know?
So it's
My
not
wife
like you
said,
needed real licenses or permits
No,
or
nothing,
Right.
zero. Just I put the bars up the door, you know, so
Right.
nobody would
Right,
break
break in.
Had a little window there, you know? And that's where we would pass out the beers, the whiskey. I had these plastic furniture outside.
No
you know?
4 COP?
Just went for it, you
Right.
know? And it started to get busy. So I lived there for a year and a half. It was in 99. It was a little rough, you know, the cartels were still
Right.
hot, car bombs.
A lot
still
of
going
gang
on.
wars and stuff, right?
So it wasn't what I wanted it.
Did you
know?
see like a lot of that or?
Yeah.
Right.
At night, you would hear gunshots all night, you know?
Right.
And in front of us used to live a sicario, you know? And so I always saw him leaving, coming back, you know? And so my wife was always extremely paranoid. She's
Right.
like, because one day he took me on a trip, you know, it was a neighbor.
Right.
And my wife said, are you insane,
Right.
you know? Have you looked at the back of his car? I said, yeah, what's going on there, you know? Do you see the plastic wrap on the seats and the tinted windows? And I said, oh my God, why don't you tell me that, you know?
Right.
She's like, never again. So it got too dangerous,
Right.
you know, and so I had 6 months left of passport.
Right.
And I said, so it's showtime, what I'm going to do. So no internet yet, you know, it was very limited in 1999.
Right.
And,
AOL dial-up.
Yes.
You know? Right.
So I got these little tourist brochures
Yep.
that I bought in Cali
Right.
for Miami. So I got the map, and I knew Ocean Drive, South Beach. you
Lincoln
know,
Road, right?
Lincoln Road.
Right.
So I said, all right, that's where I'm going. So I
So literally, you just looked at a map. You're like, boom, and that's it, right?
going.
Not knowing. Did you know anybody or?
Zero.
Wow.
Didn't know anybody here.
So literally, the American dream.
Yeah, I've never met anybody before I came here. I didn't know where the city is, what it is. I had no idea.
Right.
The only thing what I knew is my dad, may he rest in peace, he came here once in 1990, and he brought me home like this picture from Miami.
Right.
And, I believe in manifestation, and I had these pictures above my bed when I grew up. So I believe that's maybe what brought me unintentionally here, And then, so I arrived here, airport, $500 was all I could get together to come here. And then, boom, we arrived at the airport. I said, what am I going to do now? Went outside. Where's the bus station? Took the bus. We went down to 41st Street because that's where the bus drops you off. I'm like, where am I now? So I stopped the cab. I said, where's Ocean Drive?
Right. Where's all the margaritas, right?
Where's the senior? And then the guy said, no, that's not here, but I can drive you down. I said, how much? I don't have much money. The guy was actually nice, said, I'm going there anyways, jump in.
Right.
So I said, but I need to stay somewhere. Where's the cheapest to stay? He dropped me off in front of Tropics Hotel. $25
bucks a night, right?
Amazing.
Right.
And
you get free HBO, right?
Yeah. So then arrived there, beautiful. Had a room. I said, now I'm going to grab the city and I'm going to get a job.
Right.
But it was Labor Day weekend.
Oh, amazing.
The party was big. Everything was packed. And I was like, yes, this
We're
is
like,
it.
I'm going to make so much money.
Yes,
right.
This is it.
Right.
And so then I went out the first night. And
where did you go? Do you remember where you went?
Last weekend.
Wow. Okay. That's where you start.
That's
your Miami
where I started,
trip.
yes. Right. And I got drunk.
Right.
I spent $150. I don't know in what.
And that was back then.
That was back then.
Right.
I mean, I probably invited a couple of girls, probably.
Right.
Don't remember.
Right.
Had a pizza. So did all that. And the next day I woke up and I said, Alex, you have $300 left because 25 for the room, 25 for the room, 150 I spent. I said, Alex, you have $300 left. Either you're going to get a job or you're going to be homeless.
Right.
So I went to Ocean Drive for the second day then.
So what were you doing, like walking up and down Ocean Drive? Like, were you hiring? Right.
Up and down, checked out the places. So
Right.
I didn't just walk up and say, do you hire, So I didn't feel the vibe,
Right.
This was just too much.
Because you already have a hospitality background.
Yes,
So, right.
I was trained in fine dining,
Right.
So I said, this is not me.
So it's not like you're going to be a dishwasher and
No,
like, right.
and nor I'm going to serve like margarita balls this size,
Right.
That wasn't my
Right.
identity,
Right.
And so then I went to Lincoln Road, and I speak Italian too. I speak 6 languages.
Wow.
So I have that.
That's
helped me a
definitely an
lot.
advantage, especially
Oh
in a
yeah, it
city like
helps a
Miami.
lot.
Right.
In hospitality,
Absolutely.
home
Huge.
run.
Right.
And so I showed up at this place, and the first one was Yucca.
Yucca, yeah.
First one was Yucca.
Yeah.
I went in there, but they were right away, and I didn't know what papers are. I didn't.
They
know,
asked for papers?
I didn't know what a social security was.
Wow, okay.
So there's like, yeah, but you have social security? I said, no.
Right.
They said, you have a work permit? I said, no. And they said, yeah, but you need that to work,
Right.
I said, oh, fuck. So now I got really nervous,
Right.
I said, oh my God, this is different. So I went to Carnevale,
Right.
and there was Raffaele was his name, my manager, And Raffaele was out there, beautiful guy, He used to be a waiter at Carpaccio.
For Belante, right?
Yes, for Belante and for Manuel and Piero.
Yep.
And so he was an amazing guy. I said, Signore, I talked to him in Italian, do you have a job for me? He's like, why do you speak Italian? You're not Italian. I said, I'm German. Oh, German. Yeah, great. Job right away, go talk to the manager,
Yep.
I said, okay. So the manager is like, yeah, I need you to fill this out, Then came again the social security number.
Right.
I'm like, damn it. So now I'm standing at the end of the restaurant there next to the dishwasher, So I see the guy and I said, hey, come here, So I said to him in Spanish, I said, how do you work here,
Right. Right.
And he's like, with papeles, I said, where do I get papeles,
Right.
And he's like, oh, I got you, brother, I said, how much is it? He said, $50. So I'm like, oh, God,
Shit. They got to work just to get the, right.
So I got to spend 50 more,
Right. Right.
I said, got it. He's like, bring me a picture. So got the papers, started working
Right.
on Lincoln Road. So I worked there.
Was that like the Lincoln Road hustle back then? Like,
It was amazing.
Right.
I loved the street, the energy. It had so many bohemian boutiques.
it was so incredible.
Scores was opening up.
right,
Sprees.
right.
I mean,
Sushi Samba.
Sushi Samba, then the laundry bar,
Yep.
I mean,
News, Van Dyke.
Segafredo's, popping. It was beautiful.
Time.
Pacific Times.
Pacific Times, right.
I was still there when Touch was there.
Touch. It
with
was
the
Michael
huge-
Caine's restaurant, right.
Yeah, with
Right.
this huge swing inside, And I mean, this was one of the places to work, Touch,
Right. And that was like when locals actually used to go to Lincoln Road, right?
Packed. I mean, you would have mainland people coming over, you would have Miami Beach people coming over, you would have tourism there. The street was just
Morning to night. I remember coming down and going to dinner every night at Lincoln Road. We'd go to Epicure Market when we got here, stock up the fridge. Then you go to Spreece and you go to Segafredo, hang out there during the day and the music's playing. Then you go to Sushi Samba and you drink sake. And I mean, it was amazing. Then you go to Touch and have drinks. I mean, it was a time, right?
beautiful. It was just, everything was so easygoing. The regulations weren't so insane, you know. Everything was flourishing. The rents were real, you know, not ballooned and inflated.
I miss the stores that every single one of them was like the studded shirts going out of business 75% off, and they were there for like 10 years. You know, it was
the suitcase stores, you know.
They were the best, you know. And I remember tourists used to come with suitcases and literally go shopping and get on their cruises, and
it was just, the energy was there, you know. And what helped in this time a lot too was a huge gay community.
right,
you know?
huge. Because you had
money.
school. I mean, what were some of the gay clubs you had there?
Twist
Was the big
Scores,
one, right?
Laundry Bar,
Right.
There was one more, I forgot about it. One more was there, I remember now. Automatic Slims, but it wasn't a gay one.
right.
But it
But it was, but it was all one back then.
It was all one,
right,
you know,
right.
and they were spending money, you know. It was money around. Everything was fashion. You see the models walking up and down with their portfolio books under their hands, you know.
People
You would
grabbing their
see
fashion magazines, sitting at the cafe all day.
Phil Collins walks down Lincoln Road, you know. It was just perfect, everything, you know.
That was when you wanted to live in Miami, right?
I loved it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to live at 1145 Euclid Avenue in a studio with 5 guys.
Yep.
The rent was $500 and $450 for the studio.
Yep.
And we were 5 guys. So imagine my monthly rent.
Crazy. but you know, me and you had an interesting conversation before this, and you know, because your rent was so low and there was so much density and every place was making money at the time because it wasn't oversaturated, I feel like the economics worked then, right?
It was working out for everyone.
Right.
It was working out for the names like Joya Restaurant. You know, it was working out for everyone. And a bartender or a server could work a strong weekend and pay their rent. And the industry was a massive economy to us.
Right.
You know, they would all go out after work. They would all go, you know, to
Industry
restaurants,
nights and clubs,
you know,
right.
industry nights, clubs, restaurants that close at 10, they would go to the restaurant that stays open till 1.
A lot of happy hours then.
Happy hours, drinks at the bar. And it was also a bartender would take care of another bartender, would make their tip. So it was great for everybody, you know?
So let me tell you guys something I see all the time. You take over a second-gen space, you think it's turnkey, but the second you walk in, it's not exactly what you need. Maybe the bar layout doesn't flow, maybe the kitchen's a little outdated, or the bathrooms look like they haven't been touched since the 90s. That's why I tell all my clients, you need to call Broadson Construction. Whether you're building from the ground up or not, you still need finishing touches done right. Broadson's been local and family run since 1989. They're the top 1% in Florida, and they've handled everything from luxury homes on Star Island to some of Miami's best retail and restaurant spaces like LPM, Cipriani, Hillstone, Bal Harbour, just to name a few. Bottom line, don't settle for nickel and dime contractors who might underbid the work to win the job up front and screw you over in the end. Broadson maintains integrity every step of the process to build enduring relationships and never exploit clients. So remember, if you're going to build, call Broadson Construction.
Let me ask you a question. I mean, you know, obviously, you know, and again, people like you hate on Lincoln Road. I was like, no, I loved Lincoln Road. That's the problem. You know, I know that there are really, you know, a lot of people, a lot of landlords, a lot of developers. I know that they're all spending money and they're, you know, the Miami Beach community is really helping with some of these regulations to speed things up. I mean, but do you feel that Lincoln Road goes back to what it was?
I don't think with just infrastructure, with remodeling it into a movie set is going to fix the street, you know? It's not attractive anymore.
Right.
You know, big box stores can't make it, you know? I mean, you talk about $300 to $500 a foot at some at crazy numbers. The Noli now, the boutique shopping area, great everything, but South Beach suffers from residential market. Right. We have too many off Lincoln Road. You have too many old units. Right. You know, and so it's not going to work out. It's
the economics, I don't think makes sense, right?
It just doesn't make sense. You know, the mass doesn't add up, and if the foot traffic isn't increased, you know, and how do you achieve that? You need to urban planning. You need to bring the residential components, which could actually be very cool.
Right.
You know, I mean, you can keep the architecture. Coral Gables does great with that. You know,
They do fantastic, right?
they do amazing with it. You know, they keep their identity and keep growing with it. You know,
Right.
so I think there's
It's sad because you do have a pedestrian walkway, and listen, I'm one of those people. I do want it to come back. The numbers for if a restaurant wants to go to Lincoln Road, unless they do a percentage deal or do some sort, I mean, I don't.
It's impossible,
Especially now with the costs going up, right?
It's just impossible.
Right.
You know, it's not going to happen. And everybody says, yeah, but Milas. I mean,
Okay, that's one. How about you name me somebody else?
And how did they do it? You know,
Right.
come on, like, please don't look at it.
And they're
you know?
technically not on Lincoln Road.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, and they're very cool rooftop.
Right.
Everything.
No, they're amazing. But again, name me a couple. We have over 9,000, restaurants in Miami-Dade County. You could name 100 maybe that do really well. And what about the other 8,900 and change?
I mean, I read the other day that 40% of restaurants in the nation were losing money last year.
Right.
40%, and I think Miami is 20.
Right.
Of that 40.
Right. I think. Listen, I feel that any market that thrived during COVID were the first ones to really suffer now.
Yes, very good analysis, because it was this artificial momentum, and it was created on fake money, PPP, stimulus checks, and
Oh, we're gonna get into all that. We're gonna get into that. Okay, so Lincoln Road, you got your papers.
yes. Then then September 11 hit.
Right.
Lincoln Road died. I mean, I didn't know what. I remember laying in bed, waking up, and seeing this, and I said, "What is that?"
Right.
And then, sure enough, like 3 days later, it hit Miami as far as the airport being closed.
Right.
Nobody's flying into Miami. The tourism died. So I went up ending from making 400 in tips a night to $20.
Well, also Homeland Security became really aggressive with the ports and I think everything else.
Everything was
right.
a mess. The city was dead. It was terrible. And my wife back then, she had a friend living in New York and said, "Why don't you guys come up here? The city's booming.
Right.
New York
did get a boom, because everybody was so proud to be an American.
Yes.
And it was like, let's support New York.
Let's support our restaurants.
Right.
Let's bring money
Right.
in here." And so I went up there, drove 24 hours with our old Chevy Blazer. We moved into a garage, a basement in Middle Village, Queens.
Well, that's the way you listen. That's how that is the real immigrant lifestyle.
But
when
I
you're
got
gonna
a
come to
neck
New York,
problem since then, because
Right.
the ceiling was too low. So I had
Right.
to always walk to certain areas
Right.
of the apartment,
Right.
banging my head. So I drove around Manhattan. I got my first job at a restaurant by Ralph Mercado next to Club Babalu.
Yep.
It was one of these, little window at the door. He would invite his friends only, no checks,
Right.
only tips. So
It was a social club.
it was a social club
Right.
for his friends.
Right.
He would bring famous artists in, like El Canario, Tito Puentes.
And you had some other sketchy people that spend summer
Yes.
vacations away, and
Interesting crowd.
interesting crowd.
Big gold chains,
Yes.
San Lazaro, the Saint,
How did you wind up getting a job there?
I pulled up at the door. The club was open, and they were standing in front of the door. And I said, "How do I get a job here?" And Ralph Mercado, the owner, he was standing at the door, and he's like, with his two bouncers there, and he said, "What are you looking for?" I said, "Anything."
Right.
And then he said in Spanish, "Mira este viene ahora." It's coming now asking
Right.
for a job, And I said, yeah, I speak Spanish too. So he looked at me, said, "You speak Spanish?" I said,
Blonde hair, blue-eyed kid.
"Well, how do you speak Spanish?" And I said, "Well, I come from Miami, but I lived in Colombia. I fluent Spanish." I said, "My God, that's interesting. You German?" Hired.
Right.
Again, I guess being German is easy to get hired then,
Right.
And so he gave me a job, started working there, did then for him also, did his private party as his apartment in Columbus Avenue.
Nice.
Wild.
Sketchy, huh?
Wild.
Good
I mean,
times.
mountains on
That's
the
when
table.
that's when you learn what
New York City
is really about.
What is really
Right.
about. And then, but then I was illegal, and he had all the parole officers
Right.
for his son, for the other guy coming in. So I was afraid of getting
Right.
caught and
You
deported.
didn't want to just be in the middle of it, because you're around them, right?
Yeah, so I didn't want it. And then I grabbed the Zagat Survey, the book.
Yes.
Because
missed that book.
internet access, again, I didn't
was very
have
limited.
this, I was very poor. So I grabbed the book, and then I had to buy the book, but there was the server on Little Italy, and he said to me, just take it, you know?
Right.
And he said, may I give you a tip? Was this old Italian guy. He's like, look, this is how it works. These are the top places. It starts at 1. I want you to go from 1 to 10. And if you reach 10 and you still haven't gotten a job in these 10 places,
This is
you go
for the
back.
Zagat guide, right?
That's the
Right.
Zagat guide, He's like, from 1 to 10, you go there. And if you haven't gotten a job in the first 10 places, you go back to number 1 and you start again. So I did it. I started and I went to all the places: Blue Water Grill, Union Square Cafe, Balthazar. I really loved Balthazar. I walked in
Keith
there.
McNally, yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, the space was so beautiful. It was magical. And I saw the hospitality and that.
You just feel great because it's so cozy there.
It is amazing,
Right.
I mean, I felt like home because of the level of hospitality that I appreciate. I said, I can work here. So they had every Thursday open call, went there, lady said, you have any New York experience? Yeah, I work at this blah, blah, blah thing. And she's like, okay, thank you.
Right, Babalu, right.
No way, you
Right.
know? And again, next Thursday, went again. And I didn't go to the other ones anymore. I kept
Because you
going
knew
to-
that this was the place.
this is the place. This is
Right.
where I got to get in. So next Thursday comes, same thing. She's like, we talked last week. I said, I know, but I'm really going to be one of your best employees. And she's like, get out of here. Roberta, Italian lady, you know?
Right.
Then I said, the third time I went, and I said to her in Italian, Mama Donna, give me a break. I'm an immigrant like you. Give me a break. Let me work. I will be your best employee. I train for free. I work for free.
Right.
Just give me the opportunity. She's like, nope, need New York experience. We're a top spot here. You need to be ironed to work here.
Right.
But then, sure enough, she calls me. She said, you know what? You were so intense. I'm going to give you the opportunity. Started working there. I forgot to clock in, so I never got paid for
Right.
my training.
Oh, my God. Right.
Because I didn't know
you
the
kept your
clock.
word, right.
Because in Miami, they never paid me by the hour.
Right.
Because of shady, So there, they wanted to pay me by the hour. And then I was too afraid to ask because I said, what if I go to the office and they look at my work permit
Right.
that is bananas,
Right.
So I stayed.
How was work culture at Balthazar?
It was amazing. It was just like I learned it. You had to be on call twice a week, and you had to be in front of the restaurant on
Right.
call, not like, all right, I'm coming in, see you in an hour.
Right. And
call.
the other staff, everybody was on their game.
On the game. Like, this was top notch all along. I mean, lineups, you talk about hospitality rooted, day by day training lineup. Every little detail is spot on. And I
Do you feel that's why they lasted so long?
Yes, that's just. I think that's why they lasted so long, and they stick with the old-fashioned hospitality. You know, it's not. They didn't go with hype. They didn't, diversify from their concept. They stick with what they do. And very well.
I mean, we just, me and my wife were just in London at the Balthazar there. Perfection. It's still, they just know how to treat customers and always packed and always aligned, but always feels cozy and warm and everything is just
on point. And Keith is really, he's a restaurateur.
Right.
He's not one of these hype guys. He's not one of these show-off guys.
Right.
There's zero ego behind it. Strictly hospitality business.
Right.
And I had to start at the graveyard shift, the freaking breakfast. I had to be there at 4 o'clock in the morning, open up the bakery, do all this, And every day would come an old man, and from England, London. Yeah, you know where I'm getting.
I know where you go.
So I treated him every day, and he was so nice, this old man, and we used to chit chat about the past, about Europe and this and that. And then one day I saw this London newspaper on my way to work. I brought the London newspaper, and
Right.
I said to him, here's a newspaper for you. And he said, why did you buy me the newspaper? I said, oh, because you told me the other day that they should have the London Times, I think
Right.
it was. They should have it here, And I said, oh, I wanted to please you. He's like, but why? I said, because you mentioned it, so it's my
job to do that,
My
right.
job to do that, It's interesting. So kept working, kept coming. One day, Roberta, the manager, comes and she said, the owner wants to meet you, Keith
Because
McNally.
McNally, right?
So I'm like, oh, fuck, now comes the papers. I'm going to lose this job, sit at the table.
You thought that was it. The gig was up, right?
I felt that's it.
Right.
I'm sweating. My hands are sweating. He's like, so are you the young guy from Germany? British accent. I said, yes. He's like, so I wanted to tell you thank you. And I said, for what, sir? And he said, for treating my father with so much love, not knowing that it's my father. And I said, who's your father? He said, the London newspaper guy. I said, oh my God. I said, your dad is so cool. I didn't do it because to impress anybody.
Right.
Your dad is the nicest person ever. So he said, you know what? I have a management position for you. This is the hospitality that I see. This is the attitude that I see. And you are the guy. So Michael O'Hara, ex-alcoholic, very much focused on Horst Schulze's Ritz-Carlton principles. So I got it again, second time in my life, and I loved it. Trained me, started off as a manager. It was very hard. I mean, you would get a write-up in Balthazar if you forget to add the lemon to the Diet Coke.
Right.
You know, I mean, you had to have extra shirts down, line up, show your fingers, lift your pants, show your socks, everything polished, shoe polish in your locker. You know, it was just like the way hospitality is supposed to be.
Right.
You know, body language, how you walk, how you talk, you know, opening the way. It was just like how it's what I love and what I learned and what I have passion for. And it gives me great joy, you know. Right. So then New York became too cold for me again. So I came back to Miami.
But at least now you came back and mastered some of the crafts, you know.
Now
you learned with the best.
Great resume,
right.
You know. So now I could come back to Miami, not anymore as this little immigrant, you know. Now I had a strong resume, right. You know. And he said to me, look, you can come back anytime, Key said. Back then they were going to open in Miami, but he was always relentless about Miami. It was never his market, you
right.
know. So he waited actually very long. And he said, you can come back anytime and I will give you a recommendation to whomever.
Right.
So he gave me, he reached out to Lee Schrager. He wanted to give me jobs, but at the spots I couldn't get it because of my papers, you know.
Right.
So then I went to Casa Tua. I said...
Classic and Miami institution.
Yes, I went there. I applied as an assistant manager and met Mickey.
Oh, the man, the myth, the legend.
Yes. You got to love him, you know.
Listen, you know what? There's a reason why he's lasted this long.
Yes.
He knows the city almost better than anybody, and he knows what people want. And you know what? I haven't seen him strike out yet. You know, I'm actually very excited for the new Wynwood location.
Yes.
I mean, they're opening like now. It looks fantastic. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
I mean, he's kicking Mario Batali's ass
Dude,
because it's a Cucina, you know?
It looks, I mean, first of all, the fact that the least that he did, a lot of people seem to think that the Casa Tua Cucina Brickell is a deal with City Center. A lot of people don't realize it's a percentage deal with Saks, you know? Fucking brilliant. I mean, that right there is amazing. I think he's great at structuring.
Ugo Colombo
right.
helps out a lot there, you know.
I mean, huge, of course.
You know, but he was one of the first one that brought this elevated hospitality, you know. And he not only, he built this whole experience around it, the Italian villa, you know. The chef was Sergio, great chef.
Right.
A simple cuisine, you know, everything on point. So
was it when did it become a membership club?
2003, I think.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, back then even was like
when
one
I was
of the first,
GM,
right?
he came up with the idea. So how I became GM was there was another lady, Federica. She was the manager back then, but I think her husband had an accident and died. I think that was a story. So she had to go to Atlanta, and Mickey was in India.
Yep.
So Mickey called me and he said, I'm in India. I don't have a manager. I was me, the lunch shift manager, and she was the general manager, you know, and I would cover her on her days off. So I was just there months.
Right.
So he said, you know, I need you to put on everything that you have and do not let my restaurant crash. You know, I'm in India. I can't come back now.
Right.
He went there for 3 months. And I said, yes, sir, I'll give you 100% hospitality. And I did.
How did it compare to a place like Balthazar? How did Casa Tua compare to a place like Balthazar?
Huge difference because it was missing the structure. It was missing, you know, the professionalism.
Right.
And not as far as...
Just different, Miami versus New York.
Yeah,
right?
It wasn't there, you know. It was just like, this was Champions League, you know, Balthazar.
Right.
And so then I started to implement a lot of stuff, what I learned at Balthazar.
Right.
You know, I elevated the hospitality. It did great. We started to increase, and Federica was out for a longer time then, and then he came back and he said, he took me on a ride in his car and he said, look, I want you, Mickey, You're going to be the general manager. How much do you want? You know? I mean, I made the worst deal for myself because I didn't know how
Negotiate it. You didn't really negotiate
I
it,
was
right? You didn't know what you were worth.
I didn't know it,
Right.
you know, so I sold myself so cheap, you know,
Right.
but
He was like, great.
this is awesome.
Right.
If I tell you, I asked him for $12.50 a week. I didn't calculate salary.
Right.
I wasn't that
Taxes or anything like that, right?
No, I didn't understand
Right.
back then yet, you know, it was everything new for me.
So for him, it was a steal.
It was a steal,
Right.
and I worked like a horse,
Right.
and I was on it. I gave the charm. Then he started the club. I was very much engaged with it.
What was the reaction to the club?
The transition was terrible for the regulars, you know. They were pissed off. So what I did is, and we also lost the waiting area.
Yeah.
Because what I did is too, Mickey said, I got to make more money. So I overbooked it a little bit,
Right.
you know, because I don't like to keep tables empty.
Right.
I don't agree with this. There's a way how you get around with it, you
Right.
know. So I would invite people to the bar, but the bar on the first floor is so tiny.
Small, right.
So now I had this bar packed, giving out fresh Bellinis. We were known for the Bellinis,
Right.
you know. So I had the Bellinis, and I kept pouring them. Wait, table going to be ready soon. And it got so busy because before I could bring them to the second
Club,
floor.
right.
Now I couldn't do that
Right.
anymore, you know. And then Mickey one day came and he said, Alex, what's going on here? You know, because also where the lounge area is,
Right.
I had people dining there then, you know. And he's like, what's going on? And I said, Mickey, you want to make money? We got to overbook, you
Right.
know. And that's part of the show.
Right.
Keep them happy. They had this little burger sliders, you know, keep them going out, give them free apps. Mickey, it's not going to break our bank.
Right.
Loved it.
A lot of you know me from my FNB Miami page, but what you might not know is that I also run Florida's largest restaurant real estate brokerage called FNB Hospitality. Every week I meet somebody that thought that they could just wing it on a restaurant lease. And every week on FNB Miami, you guys see how that turns out. And that is exactly why I started FNB Hospitality Brokerage. We treat our clients' money like it's our money. We don't say things just to say it or paint pretty little pictures. We go based on facts and numbers. If we don't like a deal, location, or permit status, we are absolutely not afraid to tell you. It's about setting you up to last. So you could focus on food and foodies while we negotiate the build out and the terms.
Then Tom Bilant came.
You mean the legendary Tom Bellante from Carpaccio?
Yes,
Right.
he came because I was shortly a server at Carpaccio.
Right.
When I came back from New York, we moved around there at Crespi Boulevard.
Right. Alex was there at the time, right?
Alex Callas.
Alex Callas. Shout out to Alex Callas, man. Is the man.
Love this guy.
Right.
This guy made me in shape, disciplined, you know. I mean, this guy straightened us out, you know. Malacca.
Right.
Move Malacca, you know.
That place is a fucking machine for so many
Machine.
years.
When he left now, it's not the
Right.
same anymore. I mean,
Right.
Gabriel is still, he
Yep.
was a server when I was
Yep.
a server. That he came from
Love Gabriel.
Ragazzi,
Yep.
Cafe Ragazzi.
Yep.
He
And
had a-
Surfside.
yeah, he had a
Oh, no.
Beto.
Yeah, right,
Surfside.
right.
Beto,
Right.
Cafe Ragazzi. And Gabriel was there, but Beto just abused him, you know?
Right, right.
his father. And then he came as a waiter, and then Nicola Abate, he went to open up Coral Gables, Villaggio.
Right.
Also hospitality. We were a hospitality
I
army.
almost feel like that Carpaccio was like, before Hillstone, that was like the
Yes.
machine.
Yes, because again, all these people went on Horst Schulze.
Right.
Horst Schulze, the Ritz guy, was like the Bible for the ones that really took hospitality serious.
Right.
And Alex Callas, same way. You had to have the napkins to touch yourself.
Right.
You know, that's a Ritz-Carlton thing.
But I mean, also, you know, in a town that was so international, Carpaccio had all the Russians.
All the Russians, we had everybody.
Right.
We had, I mean,
All the
Alex-
local Americans that lived in Bal Harbour. And
Alex had a little notepad with all the names of his guests, with their granddaughters, with their pet names, who's in a wheelchair, who's not, and he had that in him. So when he saw them, he would open it up and would say, "Hey, Miss Rubenstein, we have again the best place in the house for you. Have a seat." So
there has never been a time. So I've been going to Carpaccio since the 90s with my family. And that was because that was my father's favorite restaurant. There was never a time where my father, maybe he wasn't there for 4 or 5 months. He would roll in, he gets the handshake, he gets the hug, doesn't matter, like he gets in no matter what. And he loved that hospitality so much that everybody he knew, how do you not go to Carpaccio? That is the greatest restaurant. You know, like that was it. It was.
I mean, he had slangs like, for example, people would show up long line, and do you have space for us tonight? And he said, if I don't have the space, I build right now another restaurant.
Right.
You know, people want to hear those things.
Right.
And
it just comforts them.
It makes you welcome.
Because they never had reservations, right?
No,
it was just,
never.
Right.
Never.
And I remember when that line used to wrap around the parking lot and, you know.
We used to have these foldable tables. Guys, I mean, we were inside of the mall already, all the way around Cartier, you know.
I remember my dad used to like bring people from Russia and they're like, we're not waiting on the, you know, like watch. And because he felt so cool that, you know, like he would bring all the big spenders there. You know?
It was amazing. I mean, they had it down to the T. And I mean, we had to pull chairs.
Right.
One thing is we had to take our napkin and clean the chairs before the guests sit down. So if they have white pants, you know, there wouldn't be some sauce or something on the chair. So every little detail was thought through. And we would allow anything. We would have these old people come in, I mean, literally 85, 90 years old, you know, and they have split the pasta fagioli, split a Caesar.
That's right.
Give me regular water with 2 lemons cut in 4 pieces. Please squeeze them for me. You know, the check was $18.
It was cheap. It was so cheap because they had a percentage deal.
And
since '92, they had a percentage deal.
They would get the white tablecloths, the linen. They would get the servers with bow ties, and you know it was Madame, Sir. They would be right all the time, and this is just this is how it works, you know.
I remember during those first 10, 15 years. It didn't matter what restaurant was next door. It was always empty, and people thought it was a curse until Steven Starr took it. Like,
I mean, Steven Starr was lucky that Alex left.
Right.
He was lucky because Alex made it his mission to destroy anybody that opens across the street.
Interesting.
That was his mission. We had weekly general meetings, we had lineups, and he would make sure. He would put extra hostesses, and he said, you won't lose one guest.
No, the only people that went there were people that couldn't get into Carpaccio at that time.
And he would pull up all these tables. I mean, he went into the parking lot, like around to the elevators, you know, just not to give them any business.
Right.
And then a place opened up, a Greek place, Elias.
Wow, that's a name. Wow, I can't believe you remember that.
That was a step in his heart because the Elia guy, he messed up because he wanted Alex involved, but then he cut Alex out, and then Alex made it his mission.
Oh, it was
to destroy him as fast as possible, and of course he managed that, you know. So I saw that guy now, the one that owned Elia in Bal Harbour.
Yep.
I saw him he had this Pega grill.
You're right.
Pega grill.
In downtown, right?
In downtown, yeah.
Right.
So Alex really, he was so focused on it because he had this 10% deal.
Right.
And when he left, it was the first time that they made his 10% deal permanent on paper, because before it was a handshake deal. And then Alex did the Villagios with Tom because Merrick Park reached out. They wanted Carpaccio, but Manuel, one of the partners at Carpaccio, he didn't want it. So that's why they started doing Villaggio.
Right.
So then, so that Carpaccio Bal Harbour gave me like the understanding of how American hospitality works, because it's completely different than Europe.
Right.
So I got a clear picture of how aggressive hospitality is to please the guest. You know, I mean, you have way more tools than in Europe back then, how it works. And then, that's how I started then. But then Tom came back to Casa Tua and said, I want you back.
Right.
And I'm going to open Sugo. It was in front of Prime 112. And he opened it up, but it didn't turn out too well.
No.
It didn't have the Carpaccio name.
Right.
The food wasn't
the same. It wasn't the same. Wasn't the same.
It didn't. The food wasn't perceived. Yep. The build out wasn't nice, you know. So I said, Tom, this is not going to work out here, you know.
Right.
Wasn't a match for South of Fifth,
well, you know. Also, you didn't have guys like Gabriel there, you know. Gabriel, and again, big shout out to Gabriel. I mean, dude, the guy's a fucking legend. He's always there. I mean, he's like, there's never been a time, and he was that guy that I was talking about that didn't matter, he remembered us always. He remembered everybody, you know, he anybody we know, oh, how do you know Gabriel? You know, and he took care of everybody. That guy's Rolodex must have been, Belante was blessed to have somebody like him.
Yes, he was from the Alex Callas time. There was Nicola that they brought to Coral Gables, Merrick Park, but Gabriel stayed there, and Gabriel is one of these guys learned under Alex. And over there, it's hardcore, you know,
Right.
and because Alex was relentless.
Right.
Alex would work 7 doubles during season. He wouldn't take a day off.
Right.
So everybody followed through with that, you know. And Gabrielle is the same way.
Right.
They put you in 6 doubles, you know, you work like a horse
Right.
and you run it. And
I'm just shocked that he could remember so many faces. Like, I'm good with faces. That guy is fucking
he's
a machine.
monster.
Right.
I love Gabriel.
Right.
Very nice guy, family guy, you know,
Right.
very cool guy,
Right.
you know, down to earth, doesn't show off. Very nice guy.
I
you know?
listen. And I know that Carpaccio's changed a little bit, but I feel that it's one of those generational restaurants like Joe Stonecrop. It's like you grow up there, you go there with your
Yes.
family, and
It's one of these places that made Miami. You know.
right. So Carpaccio, your tenure ended, or
Yeah. Then just was short, and then I went to Casa Tua GM.
Right.
Then Tom went and said, "Come to Sugo. I give you this amazing deal." And
you regret leaving?
percentage.
Right.
That never happened.
Right.
Because then Miles came when Gibson's was supposed to open.
Oh man, wait, told me Gibson, Chicago.
Gibson Chicago
Right.
was supposed to come down south of Fifth, you
Right.
know. So
Oh, what happened? What space were they supposed to take?
Catch.
The catch space. Oh, in the continuum downstairs.
Yes,
Right.
they were supposed to take Catch, but then they said it's too big, and then they said maybe we should do Gibson's at where Sugo is now, where Prime Italian was.
Right.
And Miles, just not to have them in the neighborhood
Can't
across
have
the
Gibson's
street,
right in front. Right.
he bought Tom out.
Right.
Great money for Tom, no deal for me.
Right. Right.
And I mean, it's all right. And so then, in the same time, Peter Lofton from the Versace Mansion, he was one of my regulars.
Right.
Capellini Pomodoro was his regular dish. And he would come all the time. And I said, "Oh, well, Peter, sorry, we're closing. We sold to Miles." And he's like, "Oh, my God, I can't believe Miles is doing that to you. He said, "But I love you, Alex. You always treat me like a king. And I own the Versace Mansion." I said, "Oh, my God, I didn't know that." He's like, "Yeah, I never wanted to tell you that, but I own the Versace Mansion." And
This is before Barton G.
this is while Barton.
Right. Okay. Got it.
So he said, "But I want to do my own restaurant there, and I want to bring the hotel back, and you are my guy."
Right.
So I said, "All right, great, let's do it." So I started working there. The mansion was a little bit run down, to be honest. So I did a huge maintenance
Right.
list. Everything was falling apart a little bit. So we kept fixing it up. Had a lot of problems to fix it up because he owned literally $2 million in outstanding vendor bills.
Right.
From model agencies to liquor vendors to, the list was long,
Right.
So I made a deal with everybody. I fixed as much as I could. And so we launched 1116 Lofton was the restaurant.
Right.
So we launched it. And then we got the hotel going. I got the right team in there and 24-hour security, front desk, the whole charade.
Well, Ocean Drive back then was still really packed.
Yeah, it was really packed.
Right.
Slant,
Right.
You see, for example, the 2 pots that
Yep.
are front right now,
Right.
the big vases.
Yep.
They're the original Versace vases that were in a warehouse, and I went to the warehouse to see what's in the warehouse.
Right.
So they were there, a little bit broken, so
Right.
I restored them and brought them in front of the mansion.
Amazing. Wow.
And the palm trees that are to the left, and that's old Miami times, to the left
Right.
on 11th Street, he was bartered by the hotel,
Right.
know, so he was bartered by the hotel, and he said, "They look into my freaking room. I want to block it." But he said, "The landscaping is out of control. They want $45,000, So
I want to be that landscaper.
my ex-wife owned the flower shop, so
Yeah.
I knew all the flower places, you
Right.
know. And so I went to Homestead to a guy, Rosales Nursery, shout out.
Shout out.
And we went to him and I said, "I need these big palm trees, but how much are they?" $500. I said, "Bring him
Done.
on."
Right.
He's like, "Where do you want him?" I said, "On Ocean Drive." He's like, "Estás loco."
Wow.
I said, "No, I want him there." He's like, "No, you need permits." I
Right.
said, "No permits, just let's put the freaking
Right.
parties here,
Right.
Went up, I put the cones up in the morning.
Right.
Put the tape up, a detour sign, made
Well,
it all
I mean,
official.
how was regulations back then in South Beach compared to today?
It wasn't that
bad, right?
It wasn't that bad because I literally could put up cones,
Right.
a tape, and a detour sign, and nobody would ask, "What is this doing here?"
Right.
So with the crane, we pumped the palm trees, huge mess, all day working there, boom, palm trees are planted, But then everything was great, beautiful. But then we had this whole hotel guest from the Czech Republic.
Okay.
Businessman with his family. His dream was to stay at the Versace room where Versace stayed in,
Right.
So then Versace room stayed in, boom, $14,000 a night, everything roses, private chef, whatever you wanted. Then 2:00 in the morning, my phone rings, and I say, what's going on, and it's the number from Czech Republic. And I said, oh my God, what's going on? He's like, I'm just telling you, we are leaving. This is fucking insane. I hear the music blasting in the background, I said,
Where were you sleeping at this time, or?
Yeah, I was sleeping.
Right.
I said, sir, what's going on, And he's like, this is insane. We are leaving. This is a huge disaster. You have a tall, red-headed giant naked in the pool with a bunch of naked women spraying champagne on them. So I said, oh my God.
Amazing.
Peter, what are you doing?
Oh, this was Peter.
It was Peter.
Oh my God.
And I said, Peter, because red, tall giant,
Right.
that was Peter.
You already knew. You didn't have to guess who it was
I
going to be.
said, oh God, Peter, went in next morning,
I mean, but that's why you buy the Versace mansion, right? That's
Yes.
what's the point of owning it if you can't do shit like that?
He had an Ocean Drive article when he bought it.
Oh my God.
That says King of the Castle. And it was
Fucking
him.
love that.
I mean, everybody was there.
I
John
love
Bon
that.
Jovi came to the cigar lounge there, I mean, again, so many celebrities still, that still was all that there, And then, I said, Peter, if you don't move out of the mansion, this isn't going to work out, And, I mean, literally, he would come with his underpants on the balcony,
He wouldn't
stretch
care,
himself
right?
while the restaurant was packed,
Birthday suit, he wouldn't care, right?
Wouldn't care.
God bless him.
So
God bless
then
him.
I said, I'm leaving, Then I knew Wolfgang Zwiener from New York,
Right.
Wolfgang Steakhouse. He said, we're opening up in LA. We have opened up there. Need to fix it. Got brought to LA by WDI,
the Japanese,
the
right?
Japanese restaurant group.
They're a serious group.
Dude, I mean, they take on everything, I mean, internationally.
Right.
And they have their own Tony Romases,
Right.
their own big brands,
Right. Were you at
And-
this point kind of like wanted a break from Miami? I mean, you kind of worked the circuit already.
Yeah, I was tired.
Right.
I after that, I didn't see where could I fit myself
Right.
into.
Right.
I didn't see where could I fit in. And so Los Angeles
Right.
seemed right. I mean, it's my bucket list too.
Right.
And so I started there. They moved me to Beverly Hills. I lived across from Whole Foods on
Right.
What was it, Crescent Road?
Crescent Heights or
No,
it's
Crescent Drive or
right.
something. Yeah.
Crescent, yeah, because off of Sunset. Is that off of Sunset?
It was no, it's in Beverly Hills. It was
Right.
it was Rodeo. Then what was the other road? There's the Montage Hotel as well
Right.
on the same street. The Montage, then there's the Whole Foods, and then that famous laundry that didn't want to launder my Zara shirts. That's
Amazing.
we're not doing this here. So I started working there. Different animal.
Right.
I was in huge shock. I mean,
What was the difference? Like you did New York, you did Miami. How was LA?
it was the entitlement was heavy.
Really?
The entitlement and the diminishment of you as being a regular worker was heavy.
Was it the customers that treat you like shit, or was it like the owners, or what was
Customers, owners, everybody.
Right.
It was just like treating you like shit.
toxic? Right. It was a toxic environment.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm going to the laundry, and then I mean, I had some brand names,
Right.
and I had Zara shirts. Sometimes you can't iron a shirt;
Right.
you get one before you go
Right.
to work. And she was separating the brands from the Zara, and then she's like, "Okay," she pushes it back to me, and I said, "What?" She's like, "I'm not washing this here, And I'm like, "Why?"
Right.
She's like, "Oh no, we don't do these clothes, And I said, "But why not? This material is not good."
Right. Right.
So I didn't want to do it. But it was everything. It was the constant relationship it was so superficial that, like I'm an actor, I had 15 seconds, I'm a director, there's the party here, there's a party there, and everybody was important. And, I had a huge disconnect because I'm a very real person,
Right.
So then this 1 o'clock, everything closes was weird for
Right.
me. Like,
Because then what do you do?
like,
Right.
what are you guys doing,
Right.
Then there's secret drinking spots,
Right.
you know. So it wasn't my thing, you know. Then I really loved Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara was beautiful, but then the distances were so long, I didn't feel the vibe of
Right.
LA, you know.
How'd you wind up coming back to Miami?
I just then I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna come back, you know, and rented a place down in Miami. My car was still here,
Right.
you know. I had a car that was in the garage, rented a place, so I moved into the Harbor House.
Yeah, in Bal Harbour.
Bal Harbour,
Right.
moved into there, you
Next
know.
door to
and
One Bal Harbour, right?
Yes,
Right.
beautiful.
I mean,
it was-
that's doesn't suck. But
Peace.
but rents were affordable back then.
It was. I mean, I think the one bedroom was
Like 1700, right?
1700, yeah. Stayed in one bedroom, beautiful. Had my little front porch there. I was
Right.
on the first floor.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, you know. And then, so then Dave Manero called me. He was John Rosati's partner that owned Vic and Angelo's, the Office Del Rey, and
Yep.
he later
The burgers, right?
BurgerFi.
BurgerFi, right.
Founded BurgerFi. And so he said, run the Vitos. So I went back,
Right.
101 Ocean Drive,
Right.
you know. Went back to Ocean Drive, right across from Miles. Miles,
Right.
like, you are back.
And if you are from Brooklyn, New York, you probably know John Rosati from the Auto Plazas on
Yes.
Coney Island Avenue. Right?
Yes, amazing. I mean, amazing guy.
Dude, the guy, I mean, listen, he is the fucking dream of like everything that guy used to touch, used to just fucking turn to
Gentleman.
gold. Right.
Gentleman, man of his word, old school, the best.
Right.
And so brought it up. Then Dave got crazy and he went to Aspen and went to this place where he met a chef named Dina Marino,
Oh, Dina, MC Kitchen.
MC Kitchen.
Yeah.
So
She's
he-
now, I think, LeBron's personal chef,
yeah,
right?
she's
Right.
LeBron's personal chef, you know, and but we're not friends. And he brought her,
Right.
and DeVito's was doing amazing. I mean, 11 million,
Right.
You know, was doing amazing.
I used to love DeVito's. Used to love that
because
place.
it was bold. It was.
I don't know. I just love the space.
It was bold. It
Right.
was Godfather
Right.
style. It was pretentious.
Right.
It was.
It was
this
limos
massive-
pulling up front. It was, yeah. I
It
loved
was
it.
a different style,
Right.
you know. So then he brought her, and she changed the menu to
Right.
more of her cuisine, you
Right.
know. And the place, I mean, the first 3 weekends we had so many cancellations because people said, "What?"
They knew right away, right?
They like, "Where's the food?"
Right.
You know, they came for the huge seafood
Right.
towers. They
Right.
came for the big lobsters. They came for the Wagyu flight, the Kobe flight.
Right.
You know, nothing was there
Right.
anymore. Russians didn't come anymore. Rich Mexicans didn't come anymore.
Right.
You know, the one of the chiefs of the Seminole tribe that was a regular
Right.
would spend with the girl that he comes $3,000 easily. You know,
Right.
so they were all
Then,
gone.
yeah, because then they would rather go wait at Prime 112 and wait a little longer and get what they want.
Yeah, so
Right.
boom, done. And so I said, I can't do it anymore.
Right.
Look, as a business owner, I'll be real with you. Running my brokerage takes all my time. And in Miami, if you're not showing up online or on social media, you just don't exist. That's why I've worked with Sage Marketing Studios from the very beginning. Website, social, even this podcast. They're the ones behind the camera. Building strategy, keeping it consistent, and making sure my brand looks like it actually belongs in the city. So just a tip. Stop having your cousin post blurry iPhone pics once every 3 months. Hit up Sage Marketing Studios. You can find them on Instagram at socialmedia.sage and tell them Felix sent you.
So at this point, for the first 8 years in the US, I worked every day.
Right.
And I saved enough money then to open up. I mean, I had a little gig too at the Bentley. We did a little game night
Right.
at the Bentley
Right.
down on Ocean. So we had always people play poker.
Right. Right. Well,
And
let me
then-
ask you a question. But in terms of like, you know, why did you choose your first, your venture? No, but you did the European deli first, right?
No. Then came, so then I was done. I
Right.
said, after that, after the Vitos, I said, I have enough. So me and another guy, Rory Doherty, we opened up Vice Lounge on Lincoln Road.
Vice Ranch. That's right. That's right.
He had the lease there. He called me. He's like, you want to do this with me? They took it over from Eric Levin,
Right.
that they were trying this burlesque bar there, you know. And so we then did Vice Lounge. Whole nother animal,
Right.
you know, nightlife now, you know. I mean, we had Set next door,
Right,
Big
Set,
Boys,
right.
you know. So, but
I used to love, by the way, I used to love Set.
Set was amazing.
Set
you know?
on Saturday night was fantastic.
yeah, it was just like these all cool places. You
Right.
could come from the back alley,
Right.
you know.
Rumi was next door, right?
Rumi was next door, and that was Rumi space.
Right.
So I was going to Rumi. So
Right.
when we got that space from Rumi,
Right.
I was like, this can't be real, you know. So I felt like on top of the
Right.
world.
That
you
was
know?
Alan Roth space, yeah.
Yeah, Alan and Tommy's, you know.
That's right. I used to have. That's right. Tommy Pooch.
Tommy Pooch.
We had both of them on the podcast before. And,
Tommy.
and then Ingrid joined them, right?
Yes.
Right.
And then they had the magazine. You know, they opened that magazine. I don't remember the name now, but I mean, they were the boys.
They were great.
Delano Tuesday
Right.
night. You know.
I mean,
Hassan Radwan.
right.
You know?
Wednesday was Bed.
Yes.
Then you had Mint, and you had. I mean, it was the greatest. You know.
It was amazing these times, you know. So then we started Vice Lounge very hard.
Right.
It was very tough.
Was it because at that time nightlife was oversaturated?
No, it was just Opium Group and Dave Grutman were monsters.
They just came in and
you couldn't take any.
because you already had Mansion at the time, right?
Yeah, you had Mansion, you had
Opium,
Set,
Opium
you
Garden,
had,
Set, right. Jekaruv,
what was the other one on 21st Street?
Mackay.
Mokai.
Right.
Then you had the other one in the one hotel that they had. Wall, Nicolas Hierro,
Right.
you know.
That was at the W.
That was at the W,
right.
Nicolas Hierro.
Right. The K&R guys, Kareem
Yes.
and those guys, right?
And then it was just, you couldn't get any promoter. I mean, they were battling each other heavy. So I went a different direction.
Right.
I went more urban. I went more Latin, you know. So we were very of Latin oriented and was doing well.
Right.
You know, I wasn't making a fortune.
Right.
But I hated nightlife. You know,
It's tough. This is still like social media was not a thing back then, right?
No, this was the times where you still had to print
Print
flyers, walk down Lincoln
right,
Road
right.
and
Have,
push it. And I would
have
do
hot
it
girls
myself.
on roller skates, handing out flyers, get super
Yes.
crazy. The modeling agencies, like
The wristbands with
Right,
the free
right,
one drink
right,
ticket, you
right.
know. Oh God! So it wasn't my style
Right.
because I was totally disconnected from what I love, the hospitality, you know.
Yep.
So then we sold it in 2010. So we had it like 2.5 years. We
Right.
sold it to a Puerto Rican guy that then opened Tantalize.
right.
Didn't
No, that
open
didn't
for
last
3
long.
weeks
Right.
because
But
he was a cardiologist.
Usual Miami story, right?
Yes.
Right.
He wanted to have a club, you know. Anyways, yeah, usual story.
Right.
And so then back in the time, I mean, I'm German. I was with a Hungarian, and there was a massive Eastern European community in
Right.
Miami Beach. Serbians, the Balkans were big, you know, Romanians. So there was a niche for Eastern European market. So I opened Europa Deli, and I think it was my first nostalgia from home.
Right.
So I started to make, you know, schnitzel, stuffed cabbage, goulash, you know, cevapcici, you know. I made all this
Right.
European, Eastern, and German food, and it did well. But then
Where did you open?
425 Washington, where I have now Burgermeister.
Right.
So that used to be a sex shop.
Right.
Where Burgermeister is now, where Europa Deli
Right.
used to be, it was a sex shop, and I converted it into. I was the idiot.
Right.
No idea again.
First
how it worked.
generation, baby. First generation.
Took me a year to open. I learned a very expensive lesson, you know, that I didn't understand all that, you know.
Right. Did Scott Robbins own the building back then?
Yes. Scott owns it.
So tell me again, because big shout out to Scott. Love you, buddy. Tell me what it was like signing a lease, you know, again, because now you're used to working with people, but now you're kind of doing like because you've never done a build out realistically,
No,
right?
no.
So what was the challenge of that build out? I know it wasn't as aggressive as the rules are today, but were there challenges like that you didn't
I
know?
want to start off. The difference back then is I didn't have anything to show. I didn't have a great business plan. I just had the idea in my head,
Right.
and I was looking for a space. And, you know, everybody would dismiss me and say, you know, leave.
Right.
Scott listened to me. And the difference there was he gave me a chance.
Right.
As far as the build out, it took a year because of a money situation that I had.
Right.
I could have done it in 8 months, a complete change of use
Right.
with a grease trap, with impact fees, with concurrency fees. I could have done it in 8 months.
What do you think that would take you today?
I mean, change of use
Yeah.
and impact fees with all the money, I think 2.5 years.
Grease trap, everything.
I think two and a half
Right.
years.
That's
right
pretty
now.
fair.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
you're the
I just want to hear somebody else say it. When I say people, everybody attacks me, bullshit, I can get it done in 3 months. I'm like, okay, all right.
I mean, they offered me on Flagler where Cortadito is going to go now.
Right.
Next to the taco in Los Boys.
Yep.
He said, well, you're going to have to change the grease trap, He's still not open.
I know.
He leased the space, I think, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago.
Right.
Still not open.
It used to be the sandwich shop there, right? It used to be
from what's his name? The
Danny Surfer.
Yeah.
Right. Basilic, but I remember when, I heard about the grease trap there and everybody's like, oh, the landlord's like, oh, 3 months will be.
Yeah.
I'm like,
he's like, I can give you 6 months. I'm
anybody that would ask me who really wanted the space at the time, like, don't touch it. Don't touch it.
No.
If they're only giving you a couple months, don't touch it. But Scott was different. I know that. He kind of gets it,
He gets it. He said, one of his questions is, are you going to work in this space, Will you be one of the employees? Will you be present?
Right.
And I said, yes. He said, okay, you got a deal. I mean, the space was 1,500 square feet. I think it was like $3,500 rent.
Right.
Amazing. So I started, worked it up, and then it started to go down, the numbers, And one thing is I always wanted to do burgers,
Right.
And
Did you underestimate the European community supporting kind of thing? Right.
I underestimated that I went too niche.
Right.
Sometimes you have so much experience, and then when you turn experience from businesses that you work up into your own,
More the passion, right? Right.
The passion needs to turn into business,
right.
then, and that's the part where you failed. And then when you don't know all these crazy in and outs, and then you learn the hard way,
Right.
And but it was easier because you didn't have all these computers, all this bullshit, the inspector would come in the same day, you could walk into City Hall in Miami Beach with your plans, get it corrected right away, so it was just movement, you know.
How was the rebranding process?
So then the space, because of the niche, was dying out, and I said, either I let the space go, but I loved it so much because I felt home there, And I said, I always wanted to do burgers, so I'm going to start doing burgers. And so I kept fighting for it. I was making no money.
Right.
Europa Deli was broke. I was making no more money. The shelves were empty. It was looking sad. Everybody was asking me, when you're closing, and I started to do the build out by myself, with a couple of friends would help me out. I had money to install the hood, could only do a 6-foot hood, was $45,000 back then, So I went to Scott, and Scott helped me out again. Scott is, if you're honest to Scott, if he sees that, he understands concepts, he knows.
Right.
Crap, go. Go.
Because he is a foodie himself.
He's a foodie, and he is one of the Miami guys,
Right.
He understands Miami. You don't see Scott building nonsense, or doing crazy investments, Scott is very down to earth, And so Scott has been very supportive there, and that makes this difference of a landlord,
Right.
He's still charging my rent.
Right, of course. But here's the question, it's obviously a marriage. How was he during COVID?
So let's go first for the turnover. So I said, Scott, I want to make this burger place.
Right.
This is my last money. So he's like, I'm going to give you a break. How much do you need? And so I said, for the build out, he's like, get it done, and then we go back on track, So that was like the nice. He could have been an asshole.
Go fuck yourself. I got a second gen space, right?
Yeah, I got a second gen space. I got your lease.
Right.
Done. Bye.
Right.
No, he was there for me. Then came COVID. So now I build up Burgermeister, goes up. We open up with minus 3,500 in the bank, but that's another story. But then Scott came COVID, and Scott said, look, I need to pay my bills too. Right. I can't give you a break on the rent, and I'm sorry for that. But then every day he came from Monday to Friday, he went still to the office, and he would with Josh. He would come with Josh. Right. Josh would eat a burger. Scott doesn't eat burgers. Right. Scott loves Greek salads, by the way. And he would eat a Caesar salad or made him a salad that he likes with chicken breast. The check, whatever, $25. He would leave $100, $200
Wow,
every
really nice.
time.
Right.
So basically, he paid my rent by supporting me. His check
Right.
was nothing, and he would leave $100-200 on the counter. I would say, Scott, no, Alex, I want you to stay around. So Scott has this. Scott is a guy. If you go to him, you're honest. You talk to his face. You don't avoid him when there's a problem.
Right.
You face him.
You don't pretend like you don't own rent if you're like 3-4 months behind, right?
Even if you're going to be late, let him know on time, I mean, he's probably going to charge you a late fee, but he's not going to send you right away the eviction letter.
Right.
That's not that cold-hearted corporate.
Right.
There's other landlords here that
how important is it to have a good relationship with your landlord?
It's a marriage.
Right.
It's a marriage. And he is a great husband or wife, whatever you want to call him.
Right.
He's great.
Right.
He's awesome. I mean, he's there. You look at Española way.
Right. I think, you know what, like, one of the first people that said, last couple of years that for me, the beach was dead. Right now, like, I was at the Joyce a couple weeks ago. You could not move on Española Way. Like, it was incredible. Like, even when it took a hit, how he kind of, activated it right with the right tenants. And now all of a sudden it's back to its glory day,
Michael Filippi has done also well.
Yeah.
Mabel Bedunza has done the marketing there very well. So, but it shows what our market is right now.
Right.
People want to feel a belonging. And Española Way gives you this charm, this belonging,
Right.
And that's great that they kept it intact, and he has pulled all the strings. And now Josh is taking over the.
Well, and shout out to my boy Jared Robbins.
Yeah, Jared is.
Jared's,
but Josh is doing
future.
the Scott stuff now.
Yeah.
And first I thought, oh my God, now I'm going to have to deal with the sun. You
Right.
know, like it's.
Right.
It's scary when you have.
I love Josh though. Josh
Yes,
is
see, I
Josh
mean,
is a sweetheart.
But at first,
Right.
you're like,
you didn't know what you don't know. Right.
oh my God, now I'm going to lose Scott because
Right.
now Josh is going to be in charge, and how much experience, what a personality does he have? Is he the same guy, And Josh, shout out, man. I
Right.
mean, he's really, he's down to earth, very respectful as well, you
Yeah.
know.
You don't get a lot of that anymore.
You get a text when something is wrong. You get a text from Josh. Hey, what's going on here? You don't get this corporate email with a lawyer threatening you with
Right.
compliance and all that stuff.
Right.
You still get a text, and hey, let's fix this. You know. So Josh is just doing the same like his father, and it's top notch. Jared also, look at this guy.
He's the man, bro. Hey. A little inside joke.
You guys are competitors.
But we're close friends.
Okay.
I love Jared. Jared's my boy. We were looking at properties together the other day. He is he's the future. I think he's one of those guys that's like the future of the industry.
Who told me you guys did something together that you pulled in?
Yeah, we did the Andiamo deal together.
Andiamo and something else too the other day. No, you didn't do any other deal?
No, not really. I mean, we've done a couple leases together. Oh, we did the Libera Bar going to Coral Gables, Miracle Mile.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So obviously you were in the best neighborhood during COVID. So, I mean,
yes,
it could have been worse. You could have been, anywhere else.
Anywhere.
But because there was so much hype on South of Fifth, I think the rebranding might have been a blessing also, right?
Everything was a blessing.
Right.
We started off when I opened Burgermeister, it was me and my wife, and I was the cook,
right.
and she was the waitress,
right.
And we would go to Jetro at 4 a.m., go shopping, show up at 6 a.m., prep, open doors at 10, and then stay all day, serve, right. Clean, go up, go home, step and repeat. For right. 3 years we did it. And it started
But you guys got a cult following pretty quick.
It took a slower time.
Well, but I remember even on social media, I remember seeing famous soccer players go there.
Yeah, so we got very popular because of they could see. I had no money for build out.
Right.
The space looked poor. It was patched together, but that worked still in that time,
But again, Burgermeister is one of those, what I like to call a local brand, because you grew organically. You didn't throw millions of dollars at something and hope that maybe, I think that a lot of food influencers caught on and everybody loved the product.
Yeah, it was when we opened in 2018, there was no influencer
Right,
hype.
right.
You know,
But what I'm saying is over time,
yes, so it grew organically.
it really grew organically,
and
you know?
step by step. I mean, I started off with selling $250 a day.
Right.
You know, the first week, and I was very scared. And you know, then it grew more and more. And my focus was always community, along with tourism.
Right.
Community first, tourism there. Like
Right.
I disagree when you are in Miami and you say I'm a pure local spot on
Right.
Miami Beach.
Right. Right.
You know, you need the tourist component.
Well, I mean, you
know?
can't do without it, especially on the beach.
So we little by little grew this, and I started my marketing was I went on to download all the Facebook groups,
Yep.
you know, like Norwegian Cruise Lines. And I would go into the comment section and say, hey, when you board or when you off board in Miami Port, show up at my spot. You know, so I would all of a sudden get all these cruise ship people, you know,
Right.
because I would leave comments in the section because I couldn't post, you
That's
know.
just a tip for you guys right there.
I'm giving you an insider
Right,
now,
there you
know?
go. Grassroots marketing 101.
Yes, that's how I got it
Right.
then, you know. And then and when the pandemic hit,
Right.
my wife said, what are we going to do? We had 2 employees or 3 employees, and they had no papers, so
Right.
I didn't want to kick them on the street, you know, so they would be homeless.
Right.
You know, I said, you know what? We're going to open tomorrow just like any other day. But what we're going to do is we're going to give 20% discount to
Right.
everybody that shows up here,
Right.
you know?
So you mean you weren't buying Ferraris on PPP?
No.
You weren't doing PPP Ferraris?
My wife said, I mean, it was a crazy time,
Right.
you know? My wife said, like, look, there's this thing available. Like, everybody's grabbing it, you know? And then I saw the neighbor restaurant getting it, and all of a sudden these new chairs are coming and all that
But
stuff.
you know what the misconception was, and we could all laugh about it now. People thought it was the fucking lottery. Some people who were already planning on closing forever, they're like, "Oh, free money? Yeah, no problem. I'll take it."
I mean, let's open another LLC
Right.
that I had sitting
Right.
there for a few years, and let's
Find some
pretend I have
employees
all
like,
the-
"Hey, you work for me. You've worked here for 6 months. You know, here's some pay stubs." And like, it was crazy what was going on
I
during
mean,
that time.
people were telling me, Alex, I got 1.5 million. Alex, I got 2 million. People that I knew,
Right.
and I'm like, my wife's like, you see, they're getting it. I said, I'm not touching it. You know, I'm not doing it because I don't want any obligations to the government. I don't want them to go into my books.
Right.
You know, I don't want to go into the
Right.
nonsense of the
Right.
business. I said, no. I said, we're not going to touch it. We're going to be soldiers, and we're going to fight this out like we are supposed to. You know?
But it was also a little bit of a wild time because you had crypto, you had PPP, people were stimulus. That's right. SBA. People were just
SBAs.
like, whatever. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, give me a loan.
Yeah,
you
I'll
know,
take it. No
boom.
problem. Against my hood and
No interest
equipment.
for 2 years,
Right.
you know, and then boom, came the huge payments.
Right,
You know?
and people were spending money like
It was insane.
Right.
I mean, during the pandemic, we blew up.
Right.
That's when Burgermeister actually blew up big
Right,
time.
right.
You know, during the pandemic was my blessing. I became stronger in my operations, all the locals, because everything was silent. So it
Right.
was so easier for me to make noise.
Right.
Because now I didn't have to compete against the PR agencies.
Right.
You know, I didn't have to compete against the big boys voicing, you
Right.
know. So I just had to do my business. And so we grew really fast, you know, and all of a sudden we were doing better in the pandemic
Right.
than before the pandemic, you know, in middle of the pandemic.
because everybody just came here now.
Everybody just came,
Everybody
you
wanted
know?
to be in Miami, right?
And then we open up, and then it blew up.
Right.
Then my sales increased by 1,500%.
Wow.
It was insane. I mean, we were packed every day, and so it was great. But
How soon before you knew it was time for another location?
So then I got the offer from Brickell,
Right.
from Wolfgang Hertz.
Yep. Ricardo.
Ricardo.
Yep.
Shout out to Ricardo as well.
Shout out to Ricardo.
Wolfgang, bad boy. He's my friend, Austrian.
Yeah.
Austrian,
I
yes.
thought he was German.
Yeah, he's Austrian.
Oh,
yes.
nice, okay.
I know Wolfgang since
Wolfgang,
20 years.
yeah. He's an OG. He's been in the game forever.
Yeah, I know
Right.
Wolfgang since 20 years now. And
Right.
So he said, look, you can get a spot for cheap, no key money.
Right.
You know, it's time to expand. I wasn't against it. I was against it.
Right.
But then I said, all right, let's do it, you know, and
What year was this?
22.
Yeah, Brickell didn't get super crazy yet. That was when it started getting super crazy.
Yeah, it didn't get crazy yet. The space was empty, you know, and so got a great deal.
Right.
You know, and so I built it out cheap, you know. I built it out like for 350 grand, actually.
Right.
You know, 2,000.
Right. But that,
200 square feet,
right.
you know, 350 grand, brand new, everything.
Today it would be 700 grand.
Yeah, easy.
Right.
And I had it open in 3 months.
Right. Wow. That's incredible.
You know, it was 3 months open. Boom. No green strap change
Right.
required. Can still pay that GDP permit, you
Right.
know. So
The GDP grease trap, right?
yeah.
So what do you think about Brickell? Like, what's your opinion on Brickell?
So my expectations were very high about
Right.
Brickell, you know. And I mean, then I had a boom.
Right.
Like everybody did.
Of course.
But then I saw Brickell dropping.
Right. So what do you think the direction of Brickell is going in now? Because, I mean, you have a lot of hype places. I mean, like, I've been vocalizing that the numbers and prices people are trying to charge for $40 drinks, you know, a lot of it's workforce and a lot of people commute. And I don't know. I think a lot of people have a misconception of who the clientele is in Brickell. I mean, you would know better than anybody right now. Like, what can you share?
So Brickell, what I had, I mean, huge expectations for
Right.
Brickell. I loved Brickell, you
Right.
know, I remember from back in the days. And so then we opened up, everything was well and it worked out. But there was the artificial momentum.
Right.
There wasn't the real momentum.
Right.
And then I saw that Brickell is more transient than Miami Beach.
Right.
You know, you have a bigger customer base in Miami Beach
Right.
than you have in Brickell. And then what comes to it in Brickell, I mean, last year they had 4% of evictions, you know, of
Right.
Brickell.
Well, I remember like Hampton Social only made it 11 months.
No, but residential evictions.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
4%.
Interesting.
So that's a high number.
That is a very high number.
for a neighborhood
Right.
that, you know,
That's supposed to be the
have
future,
money.
right?
Yes, and then the evictions were mostly because of roommates and situationships.
Right.
You know, because we have a lot of situationships in Miami where
Right.
a couple is together, they now have an apartment, they have a lease, and they can't afford to split
Right.
because our people are so stretched.
Right.
And then in Brickell, I noticed that. So then there was the crypto money, then the fake money, and then, you know, there was this transient, and I said, oh my God, it's very hard. I need to find for a new customer base
Right.
every year.
Right.
Lease expires,
Option, market price. Right.
so it comes a new clientele all the time. So it's very transient, you know. So landlords out of control as residential,
Out
as
of control.
commercial.
Right. Out of control.
I mean,
Like when you signed your location, if you don't mind me asking, what did you go in at per foot back in 22, which is only less than 4 years? I mean,
$65 a square foot.
60. I mean, and what's the market price now?
I mean,
I'm seeing over $250, $300 a foot.
I mean, there's down the street from me open now Madre Tacos, or what taco place new open there?
Ecology?
No. Down my street on 11th Street, where used to be the other taco place that had a club also in Wynwood. Oh, these places are changing. So,
Right.
There's a taco place on 11th Street, front from Ceviche.
Okay.
So it's 1,000 square foot of space. They're paying base rent 125 plus triple net.
Right.
They're about at 165.
Right.
So now the 1,000 square feet with very little
Right. You're at
foot traffic.
16,500 bucks a month.
I don't understand how they sign it. So my landlord came to me then.
Right.
Ricardo is
Right.
representing
Right.
my landlord,
Of
and
course.
Ricardo is a friend of mine.
Right.
And he said, "Look, the space just rent out at market rate.
Right.
You know, I'm now up for renewal." And he said, "Landlord wants to match it." You know.
Right.
So I said, "All right, give me a week. I'm gonna prepare something for the landlord."
Right.
So that's when I started to get into more numbers now, you know,
Right.
and I dig deeper and I did more research.
Right.
and I
You're good. I like your social media.
I
for
like
that
to
reason.
look at
Right.
data. I don't
Right.
like to look at hype. I like
Right.
to look at data. And
Right.
when I looked at everything, the deeper I digged into the city's data, into, you know, our market, our economy, the uglier it got.
Right.
You know, I mean, Miami Beach ballooned. Our fiscal budget is ballooned in Dade
Right.
County.
Right.
I mean, everything is a mess. You know, if we got 5.9% of, you know, increase in labor minimum wage, but 17% high cost of living, double the national average. I mean, people don't have money here, and so I gave him, homelessness. There's a lot of homelessness in Brickell,
that hasn't changed yet.
Yeah, it's affecting the restaurants, I mean, they're walking in everywhere, and it's sad, and that's the reality of Brickell. So I gave him the reality. I gave him all the places that closed. Look at Black Tap Burgers.
Yep.
Black Tap Burgers proudly said they would
Brickell City Center,
crush me, and close your doors, and the GM making fun that I'm all the way down there, and boom, and nobody's safe, and
but you still have these bougie concepts coming in, Amazonica came in, what do you, Sexy Fish, and what are your thoughts? Are people going? I mean, they're always supposedly, according to them, they're always packed,
So yeah, here's the trigger. So when I saw Las Palmas closing with that short conversation, it started to bother me, because that's personal. I knew the father, he had cancer. I know the son, Mario, and so that started to bother me. And then when I digged, after the extension of the lease, digging in, I digged more. And then I said, okay, so let me take all these places now. And let me drive around. On a Saturday night, peak hour. Let me drive around. I want to see it now. And then, I mean, 90% of the spots, 50, 60% occupancy, 70 maybe.
Because the streets are busy.
They're busy.
So people think that, oh my God, look at all this foot traffic.
But it's also the spending has shifted here. It's very selective. The tourism that we get right now is stretched also.
Well, people want a place like yours that has value,
Yeah, and, it's gotten so out of control, that, and kind of like Brickell has the fall that this hype tax has bled into everywhere in the city now, Like I heard the story about this guy had a coin laundry in Alapara here. And he used to charge 50 cents. Now he has to charge like $2.50 for a load or $3.50 for a load because the landlord raised his rents because Brickell has high rents, So this hype tax has blacked everything. So Brickell needs to, I think Brickell has a huge opportunity to be something very good. And we shouldn't cheapen it with concepts that don't match the neighborhood, And I think we have a lot of problems with alignments, I think. Of what is the use, for example, for Lincoln Road? What is the use for that street, What is Brickell? What is it, And so this sugar culture, this hype media in Brickell, I think is not appropriate for what it is, It became the influencer capital now. You have on every corner.
Lamborghinis drive up and down the street all day long.
And so now the neighborhood suffers under that because the residential part, they complain about the noise. They complain about the party. They complain about the crime. I mean, you have these buildings that people walk in there and rape women in their apartment. I mean, it's insane, So that came all along with it. So Brickell, I love it. I think Christian Tang is doing an amazing job of bringing the community together,
But for restaurants, for example, that are going to pay $250, $300 a foot, is it worth it?
No. I think look, North Italia always empty. Only the outside bar is doing something. Hampton Social, I never saw.
No, they're done. They're ready. I think they're already closed.
P.F. Jenks, I don't know what they're doing.
I mean, you know what? I think they have a sweet lease, so I think maybe they're still okay. And again, but it's like I'm more curious about like the Amazonicas and like the. Have you been yet?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
So I hate talking bad about our business. But now we bring it up. Let's talk about them. I mean, they're big boys. They can handle it. So. John's friend Adam Rosati came down and from New York said, "Hey, let's check out Amazonica." He always wants to have the bougie places. Because
every time I call, they're like, "Oh, we're fully booked out." Like every day of the week, I'm like, "I didn't know. Wow, you guys must be doing like $50 million." I don't, Yeah. You guys booked 7 days a week.
Can't get a space. And so he said, "Let's go there." I said, "Adam, I'm not dressed for this. And I like to be respectful to places that charge an arm and a leg. So we showed up. At the door, guy at the door, suit, nicely trained.
We got face control back. Face control's back in Miami. I like it. All right.
With his suit, ropes, you know. So we show up. Me, my wife, Adam, said, "Hey, I'd like a table tonight." You know, No reservations? No, before we couldn't even say the table, he would say, reservations? Not like, how are you guys?
Hey, how's your
Welcome
night?
to
Right.
Amazonica.
Right.
Have you been with us? No, reservations for tonight? No. Oh, unfortunately, we're fully booked. That would be hospitality. No. Then Adam said, can we have a drink at the bar? Sure. Go ahead. Go to the hostess. Hostess busy on the phone. You know. The hostess comes back. I said, can we go to the bar? We are standing in the middle of the lobby.
Right.
Nobody approaches us. The guy just opened the door and said, get inside.
Right.
You know, this guy at the door. And then, so we walk through the restaurant with big kitchen, the whole
Yeah, it's a big. I mean,
charade.
it's a big place.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
beautiful. I mean,
That's why I'm like,
all-
listen, if they're packed 7 days a week, everything I'm saying must be wrong because
So then we walk inside, and there's so many empty tables, and
Right.
it's Sunday at 8 p.m.
okay, prime time,
Prime time, brand new
Brickell,
restaurant, you
right?
know,
Brand new, right?
like everybody's busy the
Right.
first months, you know, and that was like 2 weeks after it opened,
Right.
and like looking around, and the place is like maybe 40-50% occupied, you
Right.
know, but a lot of empty tables.
Right.
Go to the bar completely empty. We sit down, we ordered 3 martinis, this new Belvedere, I don't know the name now, the bottle that you can light up.
Right.
3 martinis, $40 each, plus. So the bill
$40 per martini.
per martini. So,
Before or after the service charge?
so it was, at the end, I think it was like $165.
Damn, for 3 drinks.
For 3 drinks, yes.
Amazing. Love it.
Insane, you know.
Love it. Yep.
I mean, so then the bartender is like, are you dining with us tonight? And I said, unfortunately not, because you guys are completely booked. By like bartender here, behind us, the dining room, bartender completely booked. Let me talk to the hostess. So that was the first person that is actually interested in us spending money.
Right.
You know, giving hospitality, checking in. So she goes, brings the hostess. Yeah, you want to dine with us? Sure. And I'm like, I can't believe this. So this guy wouldn't let us dine here because we don't have a reservation where we
Right.
really don't need a
Right.
reservation. So they send us to the bar, spend drinks, and don't want us to have dinner. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And then the hostess tells me, yeah, sit anywhere you want. And I said, I can't even choose the table. I mean, that's out of control,
Right.
you know? So there, I don't get it, you know?
But but I feel like a lot of restaurants that are opening have that same hype I'm just like, I think a lot of people are just sick of it. They're sick of the games. I think that's why I think a lot of locals don't want to go to these types of places because they don't want to hassle. They just want to go to a place that they know, that they love, that's value, that like they know they're gonna get a good meal, and just go home. Like
It's too much. It's too much of stuff that doesn't work anymore either. You know,
Right.
it's outdated.
Right.
We're going into, you know, everybody says Miami's collapsing. I don't think Miami is nor collapsing nor is Miami booming.
Right.
Miami is normalizing.
Right.
So these places that chase away people that have the luxury to chase away people
Right.
aren't going to make it in this town,
No
no matter
fucking way.
who you are.
Right.
You know, if you chase away paying guests
Right.
and have us talk about this now, that's not a business model. And
Well, of course. Listen, if we're talking about it, everybody else is talking about it.
Yes.
Now, again, I've been to Amazonica, and the place is very beautiful, and like it's like wow. You walk in, it's like a museum. You know, it's
it's shocking that, you know, the music when they do on social media,
Yeah.
it's the same music from Calle Dragones,
I didn't realize that.
the same band.
Really?
Yeah, I compared it.
Right.
So, I mean, great that they hire local talent.
Right.
I love that,
Right.
you know? But then it's Calle Dragones, so I can go to
Right.
Dragones.
And I love
after,
those
and
guys over there.
They're very nice.
Right.
I mean, that's Miami still.
Right.
Hey, siéntate.
Right.
You
Go
know?
to Cayocho and
Yes.
right.
So, but they're destroying it too, Cayocho now. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just so. But back to that, I think there's such a disconnect of what hospitality is in general
Right.
and what the city thinks it hospitality and who they have to please.
Right.
You know,
But do you think that, like, listen, a place like that and a lot of these new Brickell places, do you think what I'm afraid of is people going there, doing this, posting that they were there, never going back there again? And like,
That's
can a
what it
place
is.
survive? Can a place survive like that?
I mean, that's what it has become. It's all this sugar culture, Instagram culture
Right.
that's posted. I've been here. For example, funny enough, you know, when I was at Amazonica, I saw a table there with girls and one guy, you know. So when Adam posted that he was at Amazonica, I didn't post it. But
you got to post. You got to post.
I didn't post. But
you got to post for the gram.
I went to the stories and I saw that table, you know.
Right.
And she only posted of herself, one of the girls, you know, showing I'm here, you know. Right. She didn't show that she's with the other 3 girls and one guy, you know. And that's our culture now, and that cannot be, you know. This is, you know, we're getting tired of it. We are, you know, the locals, like you said, it's so annoying.
Right.
Like, I just want to go. If I want to go out, it's got to be an experience.
Right.
It's not got to be a hustle.
Right.
And somehow many establishment thinks that hustling you is going to benefit them, you know?
It's like if you ask for let me guess. If you ask for recommendations at a place like that, I wonder what they're going to recommend for you.
So what do you think now? I mean, it's your business, right? Yep. You're one of the top guys in the city now, you know? So where do you see this going? I mean, I heard that Fort Charles is going in paying $500 a square foot.
I don't think that's true. I don't think so. I think that everybody in that situation, you know, knows that design district, you know, to make it complete, still needs a couple of good food and beverage operators. And I don't think that anybody can survive anywhere close to that kind of rent. So I don't buy that, but I think Fort Charles is one of those things. At least I know what I'm getting with Fort Charles. It's a great product. People love it. They'll do well, you know? And, you know, like, listen, you can have transplants that come here and do a great, look at Coat, they came in, they knock it out of the park every single night, you know? Carbone, you know, listen, people like them, people hate them. I cannot say I've ever gone there and not had an absolutely perfect experience. And I hate that, you know, like I'm like, you know, I mean, it's all hype, you know, but then if you leave and you're like, fuck, that was good, you know?
And, you know, because these guys started on a little corner, you know, so they understand from the ground up to the top.
Right. And listen, Simon Kim is still very hands-on with Coat. Mario Carbone, you know, like those guys, you know, they're on top of, very hands-on. They're not like one of those guys that'll either come here for a visa or be an investor and be like, you know, where's my check, you know?
For them, it's a business, you know? You can differentiate when it's business or just like a flush or a ego-driven concept by investors that makes no sense, you know? For example, there's Nole guys now, you know, I mean, that got the lawsuit for the flying in the OnlyFans, Noble 33,
That's right.
you know?
That's right.
So, I mean, they're so exposed now by showing that they believe to make a restaurant successful, they have to pretend and fly in.
You know, and I think that situation is, I think that's like a partnership that maybe got dirty because like, I go to Sparrow. I fucking love Sparrow.
Yeah, Sparrow is good.
For me, it's actually one of my favorite places. So when I hear them, like, I don't buy it. Like, I was there a couple weeks ago. Jeff Bezos walks through the door, and the place was packed, and the music is fantastic, and the food is fantastic. Then, like, when I hear this OnlyFans story, and like, I think, and it wouldn't have gotten so public if it wasn't one of the partners that like pushed it out there. And with social media, it's like, you know, it's like AI. You know, when you see AI videos, it's like, and now you can start telling, oh, that's AI, that's real, that's, you know. I think we're just living in a crazy time right now.
I think so too. I think there's a lot of, but it's also part of Miami again.
Right.
These stories, we see them, and so
listen. I think that you know better than anybody. I think we're very over cannibalized right now. Very over cannibalized.
We have. It's like the journey to Jerusalem. You know, you have so many chairs, and us restaurateurs, we are fighting for, you know, the same people, And
it's like, listen, even south of Fifth, you know, a couple years back, you had like, you know, 5-6 restaurants doing over $10 million. Then you have 15 restaurants doing $6 million. Then you have, you know what I mean? And it's like the numbers are going down. I think this year is the first time that I've seen multiple places in south of Fifth close, you know, not because it's just, you can't just have, you know, a place open in a neighborhood and just assume that you're going to do great, you know? And look at the other guys you're talking about, you're comparing yourself to. Carbone, Joe Stonecrab. You know, like those guys are going to be there for another 100 years. Like you can't, you know, Prime 112, God bless Miles. He's been there for fucking ever. And there's still, you know, people waiting. Consistency. You know what you're going to get. Value. You know, Smith Olinsky on the Fisher. Listen, how I love going out there, sitting outside, like watching the boats, you know, like, it's great, you know?
It's amazing. That's one of the spots too. And it's consistent, you know? It's no fluff, no loud music, no BS, you know? It's straight to the point, you know?
I don't know about you. When I heard, you know, Lucky Cat going in, I knew it was dead on arrival.
I mean, I don't know why Red moved. I don't think they should have moved.
I think that their lease was up and, you know, the usual story, market price.
Oh, God.
They, you know, and they signed another deal and they didn't make it. But I heard a rumor they actually just took something else. Let's see how that lasts. But listen, God bless. I want everybody to make $1 billion. You know?
But me too. I'm the one that like I want every burger place to be booming in Miami. You know, and I'm sad that it's not like that. You know, but
when you hear like a caviar place signing for like $200 and something a foot, taking 4,000 or 5,000 square feet, I mean,
I wonder. Who does the marketing research for them? Right. Who does the analysis for the concept?
Right.
And then, you know, the disconnect from what the reality is. Like, I don't think they're so blind.
Because,
so dumb
you know what I call it, Alex? I call it my baby's the most beautiful baby syndrome. You know, they come to South of Fifth, they'll go to Carbone, like, this is shit. They've never tried my pasta, you know, like... And I'm like, when I hear that from clients, I was like, guys, keep your money, go home. I'm doing you a favor right now. Like, as soon as I hear that, or pizza, this sucks. Like, they've never tried my pizza. And I'm like, fuck, my burger, my this, my sushi, and I'm like, 6 months, you'll be closed. Like, you know, like that's, you know.
And that's, I mean, we had the first wave of COVID, you know. Right. Dying out.
Right.
Then the second wave come.
Right.
I'll do it better.
Right.
You guys don't know what you're doing. 300, 180 a square foot. That's nothing. I'm going to be packed every day.
Right. And we both see the same thing. Now what we're going to see is all of these oversaturated restaurants giving back their keys, and only the strong is going to survive. The guys who do it right, that's, I think, who's going to make it. I think everybody else is fucked.
Yes, I think we're going to look into a very bloody summer that we've never seen before. Right. The World Cup is not saving us.
Listen, again, my buddy Andrew Platt, shout out to Andrew Platt, who's helping me with all the grease trap stuff and who's really leading the way with the grease trap changes. You know, he was on my podcast and he said something brilliant. He's like, listen, if your plan is for something like FIFA, that's not a fucking plan. Like, what are you going to do the other, 11 months out of the year? You know, it's wild.
It's not going to happen. You know, people are too much focused on that World Cup that is not going to bring us much. You know? Because the hotel rooms are too expensive. The tickets are $1,000 now, you know, so don't expect people to come out and dine and spend $150, $100 a person.
Right.
You know?
I mean, listen, I watched one of your videos recently and I was like, like when you're like, yeah, Miami has, in terms of sales, is doing fantastic with the hotels, but we're also the most expensive hotels.
We're the most expensive hotels. We're most expensive in everything.
Right.
You know, the parking is out of control, you know. So
parking's a big problem now.
And the core of our city, 75% is stretched.
Right.
We have 20% that's living below the poverty line.
Right.
Double national average.
Right.
54% of the county need a house poor. They need the whole household, 40% of the income, to have a roof over the head now. So that's 74% of our city.
Right.
So we have 74% that are very stretched, you know, that never used to be like that stretched, you know. So what's going on right now is expedited at a cycle that we've never seen before. I think, I think the message is clear. We have a two-shaped economy, luxury booming, the ground is suffering. It's obvious. Nobody cares about us, small businesses, they don't care.
Well, according to them, I mean, listen, last year they told spring breakers that they're not welcome. One of the months that is for restaurants in Miami Beach is like how can you do that? But now they're like, okay, we made a mistake. Everybody's welcome back. I mean, I know we're still, a little bit away. I mean, do you think, based on what you see, you're like, are they going to come? Are the spring breakers going to like come back the way they used to?
I don't think the spring breakers are coming back. I just looked at another data yesterday to find out what's going on. Where's our tourism? Because Miami feels empty.
Right.
Miami feels very empty right now,
Right.
and it's funny. International tourism has dipped. The data from the GMCVB and a couple other platforms is showing that we are getting a lot of drive-in tourism from other sides of Florida.
Georgia, North Carolina,
North
Florida,
Carolina,
right?
drive-in tourism, not even flying.
Right.
And that's a bad sign.
Right.
We can't make it like that, and summer comes, we are not having a season like we used to because we are oversaturated. Spending has softened a lot on the ground.
Costs are up.
So to come to Miami for vacation, to make the numbers, you want to come 10 days, the hotel room at $280 is without all the fees.
Right. Before the resort tax.
Tax, this one,
Service charges, right.
So you're at $400 a night. I saw the other day a review from a guy that made a review on YouTube about Faina.
Right.
He said, I'm spending $2,000 a night here, and I have zero service.
Right.
So now we are doing all this. We have our luxury booming. Workforce can't live here anymore.
Right.
No,
they got to they got to come from Hialeah or
not even anymore.
Right.
It's terrible.
Right.
And so why I cry out now is mostly of my staff. I'm paying them more than most of the places paying them. I pay them vacations.
Right.
I pay them sick days. But they can't live anymore.
Right.
And when I notice now that we had one of the worst Novembers, November, when you were thinking...
Well, that's, for me, people will argue with me all they want. I say Black Friday is when season's supposed to be back. Right before Art Basel, that's when we're already pumping. But this year, it was closer to Art Basel. Like, it was, and that scares me, the fact that season is getting shorter and shorter. Like, what does that say?
I appreciate that you as a broker care about that, because other brokers are right now, this is a golden area, let them burn through.
Well, listen, I got to sleep at night. And you know what? At the end of the day, for me, it's the long game. I'm also big on the community. I want our community to last a long time. I don't just want to make a couple bucks and then keep flipping over space, and then I'm the scumbag. There's a lot of people out there like that.
It doesn't last in Miami, because at the end we're a village, and I see this what we talked about earlier. The industry is so afraid to talk about this, and I think that's wrong. If we are a community, we need a restaurant association. We need to start fighting together. We need to start speaking about the nonsense, because I also started talking about it because not only about the business aspect, the narrative of Miami. I live here. I'm not an idiot. I'm not a scam artist. I'm not a douchebag. I'm not a crypto bro. I'm a real guy that works and has a life and a family and all that stuff. And there's so many people like that. So the narrative bothered me too, that we're about donuts and OnlyFans and all that bullshit. That it's not, 80% of our city is different, and so we need to fight to keep the soul of our city. And if people don't speak up about it, it ain't happening.
The thing is, when you speak up about it, I don't know if you've been getting it. I know when I did my restaurant Armageddon video, I was outcasted. People were, all over me, like, you're doom and gloom. I'm like, no, I'm trying to help and save our community by warning clients, like, that all that shines is not gold. It's not all rainbows and unicorns. Like, guys, and they don't listen. And then it's like deja vu. It's like taking the space back. I'm like, guys, I should have listened. Grease trap. Next guy, like, that's why, there's a select group of us that when there's grease trap hearings, we go to the city, we go to the county. We're trying to make things better. We're not just like, landlords who are like, okay, $50,000 key money. You never open? Okay, next guy, $50,000 key money. I'm seeing so much of that, and it sucks, And it's
sad, but it's also, there's some people you can help them, and that's the sad part, that's why I speak up too now, because, it's been going viral, because I think I hit a nerve now, and I get some hate, I get this hate, this is woke culture talk, or this is liberal. I'm not about politics. This is
I'm
not
a Republican. I'm like,
This
but
is
it's
not about
listen,
left or
It's not about
right.
left or right. It's about
community.
Right.
This
It's
is
about community.
This is about hype. This is about structure over hype. We are losing everything.
Right.
And I'm still fine. I still had a 5% growth this year, which I think is a blessing. But
Right. But how many people are you seeing who are going under?
and that's what I'm afraid of, because my time is going to come.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's going to come to
Right.
me. We are in a cycle right now where we are burning and sacrificing our culture and soul
Right.
for the bigger picture.
Right.
And it's obvious,
Right.
So we are going to get buried in the dust
Right.
of all this construction.
With
and
no infrastructure.
no infrastructure. We're going to have emergencies with ambulances and
Right.
stuff. That's all fucked up.
Right.
Our traffic is out of control.
Right.
And our workforce wakes up in the morning thinking, fuck, rent is due.
Right.
Fuck, car insurance.
Right.
Fuck, parking at work, paying,
Right.
paying all this money. And that's why I always say, we can't stress out, we can't be upset of getting shitty service,
Right.
because we don't give our workforce
Right.
anything.
Yep.
And obviously the big developers are not going to care about that, because they're not all like you.
Right.
They're going to say, and even there, we have this fake economy because, like you said, it's on the level of restaurants and towers. Somebody leaves a site, fucks up,
Right.
burns 100 million, bankrupts, gets the fuck out of here. Next guy comes, I'm building a bigger tower.
Right.
Because it's not only the restaurants, it's anything.
Right.
Everything is inflated by ego that doesn't work
Right.
in our city.
I mean, those are great points. All right. So me and you, obviously, we went through all the, realistic, and let's see what people think of that. But let's move on to a more happier situation.
Yes.
I always end the shows on what people's favorite type of restaurants are. I think maybe today let's do bakery.
That's a big.
Let's do bakery. So Alex, what are your top bakeries in Miami?
Number one is Majestic on Coral Way. It's a Portuguese bakery. For example, I don't know why they don't have 50 locations already, but
Right.
it's an older guy. He doesn't care. And amazing.
What do you like there?
They have Portuguese and Brazilian stuff. So they do pão de queijo, coxinha. They have, regular croissants and
Yep.
stuff, But everything, the ovens are behind the window. You sit here, and the guy is right here. You're seeing him rolling the
that.
dough,
Right.
Amazing, very good priced, local spot,
Yep.
always parking for free. Amazing. Bakehouse, definitely doing a great job. Zach, because
Love Zach the baker, right?
it's not because he's one of these guys that are very popular in Miami. He just does do fucking good bread, I mean, I love bread. I'm from Europe, and
His chocolate babka is fantastic.
so, I mean, amazing stuff, I love all this stuff, and God bless him. I heard he had some health issues.
Yeah, when he was younger, but because he pushes, he wants the best product. And shout out to our boy Zach the baker.
Yes, shout out.
Who's our neighbor, and he's the fucking man. We love you,
It's
Zach.
amazing stuff,
Yep.
And I think he's one of these last examples of what Miami used to be at the time,
Right.
where we could do with little money, greatness.
Right.
Now little money.
He's one of the last, I think, old school guys left in Wynwood. I mean, that's
Yes. I mean, Wynwood also sad.
Right.
Sad.
Right.
But yeah.
What anybody else we got for bakeries?
No, those three. I would stick with them.
So what do we have? We have
Majestic.
Majestic.
Bakehouse.
No, I think it was it Bakehouse or Casa Bake?
Casa Bake. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Casa
So
Bake.
number 3, Casa Bake. What do you like about Casa Bake?
I mean, also it's
I like that they're mom and pop and like
yeah,
they're
it's straight to the point.
or same thing, organic with good.
It's not the fluff shit.
Right.
I'm not so much about hype. You
Right.
know, I'm
Right.
not so much about it. And they, you can see every time a business puts passion in, you can see it. You
Right.
know, and they're one of them as well.
Alex, this conversation definitely did not disappoint. Thank you so
sir.
much for coming on, bro. Listen, thank you for doing what you're doing. Continue to be outspoken. Thank you for being an important part of the community. And, thanks for everything you do, man.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, bro.